All right. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We have a very short time frame, so I'm going to go ahead and let this thing get rolling. We have people just rolling in. Let me make sure we have everyone so far admitted.
Good morning, Jim. James Brunner. How are you, buddy?
Sorry, I had to take it off of mute. I'm doing good.
Are you in the desert?
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
Jeffrey Cates, look at that.
Mr. Cates. Oh, he's just here because the ladies are here. It has nothing to do with the content or me. It's for the ladies.
I'm here to lend my support. Hi, everybody. Hi,
Hey,
Joe.
buddy.
Hi, Joe.
I talked to our partner, Melissa, this morning about the call this afternoon with your PRKK client. I didn't realize he was the advisor. Of course, I would love him on the call. So I talked to her to make sure he was okay.
Perfect.
Don't tell anybody I had a late night response.
Okay. Listen, if you need to talk about it in advance, just for me to fill you in, let me know. Give me a call.
Thank you. Otherwise, I'll be stupid.
Okay, so if you're not on mute, please go ahead and put yourself on mute. You should come in that way, but thanks for joining us this morning. So this is our solution for virtual business owner forums. We typically, as most of you know, try to do business owner forums at least a couple of times a year, but in this environment, we've not been able to get together in person, so we've been trying to come up with some creative ways to do business owner forums without everyone having to sit on Zoom for hours on end. So for this round, for this semester, we decided to do business owner interviews. And so last time, a couple of months ago, Joe interviewed Randy, one of our longtime business owners who actually sold his company last year, and talked about what that was like, especially during the COVID time frame. And this morning, we are pleased to have our clients and friends, Jessica and Haley and Jamie, and they are the three G3 daughters that are running the company now. Parents are still a little bit involved, yeah. But I'm gonna, instead of taking up time, I'm gonna go ahead and let Joe get started and let us hear from the girls.
So good morning. Thanks, Shelley. And I just saw RJ join as well. Hi, RJ. So our goal this morning is to have you all have a peek into the minds of Generation 3 in a successful family-owned business. They're actually in the business and running. They're part of a third generation, not all of that third generation, but the three they're actually in and running the business. So Jess, why don't you start out for me? What company are we talking about? What company do you guys own?
We run Bill Howe Family of Companies, which is Bill Howe Plumbing, Bill Howe Heating and Air, and Bill Howe Restoration and Flood Services here in San Diego.
And what's your role?
I am the controller, being trained up to the CFO as we speak here.
Now, if I would have asked your sisters, they would have said you're the CFO now.
Oh, yeah.
They were the controller when you were a teenager, and you're the CFO now.
Yep, yes, I am CFO.
And Jamie, what's your role?
I'm the operations manager for the plumbing department.
For the plumbing department. Is that how Bill Howe started?
Yes, it is.
It's plumbing. And what you said, the Bill Howe Plumbing department or division, how many departments or divisions are there now?
There's 3 businesses for heating, air, plumbing, and restoration. Among those, we have little sub-departments: mining, water filtration on the plumbing side, reconstruction, restoration, there's carpet cleaning, that sort of thing. So little subcategories of 3 main divisions.
Very cool. Haley, what do you do at the company?
I'm the general manager, general contractor for the restoration and flood division.
Cool. So how many years has the company been in existence?
Well, plumbing started in 1980.
Okay.
Restoration and flood started in 2009, and then heating and air started in 2009 as well. Right?
Did you practice that?
No.
All right.
For 21 years.
So So 41 years. So in 1980, who was running that company? And in the early 80s, how many team members or how many employees?
Well, our father was running it with his dad. They started together, and then they had probably like 5 guys.
Our mom came in, because they lived in the same apartment complex where the business was being ran out of my dad's apartment.
In Pacific Beach.
In PB. So it's in the 80s, it's run out of a PB apartment
In a garage.
and a garage. And there's 5 guys that show up each morning or 5 plumbers to kind of run things out. Your dad's doing this
Yeah.
with his dad.
Mhm.
And his dad's name is also Bill Howe.
Yes.
So, okay, so it's Bill Howe. Did they ever decide which Bill Howe it was named after?
Well, I think it was AMPM Sewer, right?
Originally AMPM Sewer and Drain Cleaning, because it was in the front of the Yellow Pages.
Right. Oh, AM and PM is the
Yeah.
front line in the Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
When that's where we went to look for things.
Right.
Yeah, and then it incorporated into Bill Howe Plumbing, and then from there.
So how long is it AM, PM, clean and drain?
It was about 5 years,
5 years.
and then
You're-
incorporated into the hot plumbing.
So, and then which Bill is it named after? Do we know?
We like to say Bill Howe, our
Our
dad.
Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah.
Bill Howe Jr., that's right.
Oh, okay. It's by Mike Prong? Okay, cool. Thank you, Ashley.
Of course.
Named after Bill Howe, we're not too sure which. We like to say it's Bill Howe Jr. or your dad. Okay.
Well, they have
So-
the same name, so technically both of them.
So, and then at some point, your mom is in the same complex?
Yeah, she lives in the same complex where the business started, and that's how they met. Our mom and dad met.
So mom and dad meet and mom starts to work with the company
Yeah. she
before
says-
they get married?
Yes, she started
Okay.
answering the phone, and then
Cool.
she says that everybody in the studio community loved her accent, and that helped
And what accent does she have?
English.
So she's got an accent. So she lays claim that the company started to grow
Oh, yeah.
because of her accent.
Oh yeah.
So what role does she play at the time?
Call
Everything.
taking, dispatching.
Dispatching and all that. How many
Yeah.
dispatchers do you have now and call taking in the company?
Between all 3 departments, probably 20, 25.
That are people who are just taking in calls and dealing with the public as it goes.
Mhm.
And is it a 24-hour thing?
Yes.
It is.
Very cool. So then they get married. Bill Howe companies are out there that change the name to this, but it's what I would consider a smaller brand for a number of years, correct?
Mhm.
And it starts to grow. What starts to catapult it to the brand name in the county that it is now?
No, go
I'd probably say, well, our parents like to say when the jingle came into play, and the little guy and the marketing started happening. So
So-
from there, it started to take off.
So when does the jingle and the little icon guy, when does he appear?
early 2000, late 90s.
Yeah, late
Yeah, late
90s,
90s.
right? When some of the
So-
branding started to come into play and they developed that brand strategy.
So we're 15 years in, almost 20 years in, and then that starts to happen. And that's about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you guys are how old when it gets started? You're not here.
Right.
And then you're how old when the branding starts in? You guys are in your younger teens,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, younger, 2000.
And then over time, you guys dedicate a lot more to the budget for branding and marketing.
Mhm.
So now, if I was to ask your dad, he'd say you touch what percentage or how many homes in the county, or one out of how many, or how would he say it?
Ooh, what's that?
I don't know, we probably go into
200 plus.
300 plus homes a day
So you're in 300 homes a day, occasionally,
among
What?
all of our departments.
right? So you touch a good percentage of San Diego. Are you one of the biggest brands of plumbing in San Diego, would you say? As far as people you affect, or if not the largest?
Yeah, we are probably one of the top 3 for sure in terms
Sure.
of size.
Cool. So when is it that are you all stepping into the business and going to see it when you're little kids?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
grew up there.
Yeah.
We went to school in La Jolla, and
Uh-huh.
the office was in PB, so we would go to work and then go to school and then come back to work to the meetings and
Some of the plumbers would actually take us to school.
Plumbing, so you ride the school plumbing trucks. Okay.
If our parents had to stay and work because they had early shop meetings.
Yeah.
So we would go in, sit in a line, because there was 4 of us girls, sit in a line, have our donuts, and then either the IT manager or one of the plumbers would take us to school, drop us off in the car, and in our little blue Astro van, and then come back.
I could hang out with all the guys.
Okay, well, the guys again. Which one of you goes to work for the company first, and what do you do?
I think I did because I did it in the summer of
Yeah.
like 2000 and I don't know 7 or something.
And what's your role at the summer 2007 when I'm sorry, what was it?
I was a call taker.
You were a call taker. How old were you?
I think I was 22. Yeah, 22.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then who comes in next?
and then Jamie came in next.
And what do you do when you come in?
I was a call taker.
A call taker. So frontline stuff. So not plumbers, but call takers. And your frontline employees are call takers and then plumbers or restoration people in the field, right?
Yeah, call takers, dispatchers, accounting.
And then how old are you, Jess, when you come into the company?
It was around 2012 originally. so-
And you're how old at that point? Because you're the baby of the family, right?
I'm the youngest, so
You're playing golf with dad during these years.
I am. I don't remember the plumbers going to take us to school, but I do.
You're young. You're young enough. You blocked that memory.
Yeah, I do remember having sick days at the office. We go to school, we went to the office. So I started in 2012 as a call taker. So
And do you guys come in and work for the company and stay in the company, or do any of you leave for a bit?
I left.
For how long?
Maybe 2.5, 3 years about.
So you got a 2.5 year break?
Oh no, I decided that I didn't enjoy working on the operational side, and I wanted to go explore some other career choices. And kind of, to be honest, I went from call taking to accounting, which is a really weird switch.
Right.
So
But it's good switch.
it was.
So,
it was.
so you guys are currently part owners, right? And there's three main brands, three main companies inside of this, and you're part of each one. The original ownership that you guys got, was that because of working there? Was that because you bought in? Was that because of estate planning? What was that?
That was because back in mid 2000s, the senior, Bill House Senior, and his wife Edie wanted to exit and have, they wanted to be bought out and they wanted a smooth transition. And so my parents agreed to take their stock, some of their stock, and then the rest of it, distribute it to the family members.
So are there more family members? There's your mom and dad, and you guys are their family members, or other people past that?
Yes, there are, obviously, we have 2 other sisters.
Did they get some stock too?
They did as well.
Were they working in the company at all?
No.
Okay.
So, and then there are 2 shareholders, there were 2 shareholders at the time who were working in the business and family members, but like cousin and a step uncle.
Right.
So,
And recently you bought one of those out.
yes.
So what is that like to have somebody that gets part of the business, but isn't a direct, but is worked in the company, but name art work in the company, but needs a check to get out? What is that situation like?
That was uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's stressful. It's definitely stressful. I think at the end of the day, though, it's like you have to communicate with them. You have to rely on your counsel, right? Definitely. Joe.
I was being pointed out.
To kind of navigate a lot of the nuances of a family member who also worked in the business, who is exiting, who doesn't want to work with us anymore. So
So
Who
there,
helped grow the business.
who helped grow the business,
Since she
who's
was
been there,
18.
spent half her life at Bill Howe.
and effectively she was your boss at some point,
Oh, for sure.
right?
Mhm.
And this other shareholder was too. And then as you guys matriculated up, it became clear that you were their boss.
Yes, there was a turning point.
So what was that like, Jamie, to move from being somebody else, or from being somebody's employee that you're still with the family, kind of their equal to, at one point, it's obvious now you're going to be their boss. What is that like?
It was similar to what Jess said, uncomfortable, because there is a transition of responsibility and a different respect that comes with that. In time, I think all of us have earned a lot since starting at call taking and learning every single role in the company, has allowed us to really branch out and understand operations together. But yeah, it was difficult, but I think you have to put your time in to be able to make that transition, because it takes time and respect and trust to be able to be where you are.
And that's one thing. And also, too, if I can pick on you for a minute,
Yeah.
You're in the company and you're getting involved in more of what, if I may be so bold, your mom and your dad ran plumbing and did that kind of stuff and ran the company. At some point, which one of the two parents starts to take over more, is starting to direct traffic more?
Tina.
Tina, and Tina's mom, right? And we said Tina with a little bit of oomph, right? So is your mom a strong personality?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
When she sees something, nothing will get in her way to get it.
to get it. Okay. And really proud of her accent and really proud of what she does, but also proud of her business acumen. Is she a big driver of the growth?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And does she hold people accountable, or is she pretty easy about it?
A huge accountability portion, absolutely.
Use your accountability portion. And Jamie, would it be fair to say that you were kind of stepping in more of her role as time was going on?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
So what is it like for the two of you, where you've got mom who's a strong personality, your sister who's kind of stepping that role, but you guys are in the company. What is that dynamic like as it's time to shift? Let me just get to it.
We have a good routine now. With again, it just comes down to communication. So if Jamie does something or Haley does something or I do something, it's like we'll step into a room and be like, "This happened. I'm pissed. How do we get through this? And let's deal with it in the next 30 minutes so we can continue and put a united front in front of the employees and handle our disagreements and get going."
Has that been your traditional way of doing things, or is that a new talent?
That is a new talent.
Yeah,
Traditionally, what it would have been like for you guys?
Harbor.
yeah, Harbor.
Harbor
You go in the next morning and just keep going and then do it again and do it again.
So harbor hide feeling about it and just bury it and go through and ignore it for a while
Keep working.
and wait till it rears its ugly head again?
Yeah.
Oh.
You have outbursts of.
Yeah.
How is that working for you?
We would like take sides with employees and not be on each other's side, and it was, yeah,
So was that a healthy way to run or
it's chaotic.
chaotic?
Yeah.
Do you guys enjoy chaotic?
No.
But you just didn't know a difference. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And your dad is a big reason for the growth and the structure of the business too, but he manages differently. Is that fair?
Yes.
Is he pretty definite on what he wants and the way things should be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how does he express it? Same way as your mom, differently than your mom?
It's not as clear.
Yeah,
So.
a little. He has his outbursts as well, but he's very vocal to everybody, which can be a little bit.
To struggle to
Confusing.
mitigate and navigate it
Yeah.
with the communication with the employees and.
But for years, the combination of your mom and dad's management styles grew a company from the size it was to what it is today as a countywide brand, probably the biggest brand in that area, probably the most well-known brand in this area, right?
I'd say he's more personable, and then she's more accountable, direct, strict. So probably the mesh of the two helps build it to what it is.
What it is today.
Right.
So are they still running it and you guys are in dispatch and doing things, or what's the structure looking like now?
Well, when COVID hit, here's a little personal note. Our parents took a pretty large step back to watch all of our kids.
Yes.
Because all of our childcare went away for a couple months. So we stepped most recently into much larger shoes in the past year. And so that's been
kind of naturally just
Yeah.
made the
Now,
switch.
was this because of COVID, or did you all and your parents have a plan of you taking over?
We had a plan, it was just not happening.
So you guys had a plan for a long time,
Yeah.
but one generation was having a hard time stepping aside.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just wasn't like it was planned. We had the idea, but it hadn't happened, and we hadn't really solidified the succession of it.
Right,
And then COVID hit and kind of just forced the plan into motion.
right.
Because you guys had an intent on that plan and it was happening, but was it just happening slowly?
Yeah.
So,
And were your parents having troubles with staying out and diving back before that?
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, yeah, it's a control piece of it. And they just, they're big numbers people as well. So that's why we have Jessica, because she's awesome at numbers. And Haley and I on another level aren't so good at that. So I
But you're
always
damn good at ramrodding the team members and customer service and making it happen.
Yeah, my dad always said, take care of your employees, they'll take care of you. Take care of your customers, they'll take care of you. So that's always in the back of my head as far as the customer service and employee aspect. And I think that's also allowed, the brand to grow, because we always stand behind our work, whether we mess up or do something great. We're there to pick it up and have teams available to do so.
And are your parents in the office more or less than they were 2 years ago?
much
A
less.
lot less. They don't even have offices.
No.
Oh, you just got rid of their offices? That's a way to make sure your parents don't get involved.
They
Just
have-
remove their office.
Yeah, they have desks.
They have
in our
desks.
offices.
Our dad's in Haley's office and he has a desk in the corner. And then my mom's in Jessica's office and she has a desk on the side.
Did we consult mom and dad before we took over their office and put their desk in the
It
corner?
was their idea.
Oh, it was your idea,
It was all
okay.
their idea.
When they are in their office, is it hard for them not to get involved or be making decisions?
Yes.
It is. Yeah.
Is it because of their desire to want to help, because of their control stuff, or do the employees lean on them to get the employees' way?
Not so much that, I don't think anymore.
Anymore?
Anymore, yeah. But there's just the accountability to know that when we say we're gonna do something, that we do it.
Okay.
Whatever it might be.
There's a level of uncomfortability, they're just still getting used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust.
If your mom and dad were here without you guys and they didn't know that you were going to hear this, would they be happy with what's going on now, or would they be bothered?
I think
I'd be
they're
happy.
What would they be happy about?
to see us grow,
Mhm.
to see it succeeding,
See all of us working together.
working together and not fighting.
And not fighting anymore. They don't like it when you guys fight?
Or not talking to each other for weeks.
Oh, great. So is that a great way to run a company, fight and not talk to each other?
No.
No. So how do you gain the skills to not be that way? What has that been
A lot of coaching.
Joe.
like?
I think, yeah, and understanding our communication level, the way that I communicate with Jessica and the way she interprets that is different than how I'm gonna communicate with Haley and how she's gonna interpret it. And also knowing like what key things are part of Jessica's role that I need to understand, like Jessica and money go together. So if I wanna go do something, I need to consult Jessica first before I do all this overtime and do all this crazy stuff. I need to talk to Jessica. And then, same with Haley with other aspects between restoration and plumbing and that relationship. We're a team in that regard as well.
So that's communication stuff. Would you say as you went through to function better as a company and within each other, was that mostly about the things that were happening that day, or was some of it about the history of how you guys communicated?
History.
It was the history that was the hard part, right?
Yeah, it's just evolved, didn't it, from the way that it used to be, and now we're switching from an old culture to like a new culture. So
Right.
it's changing all aspects of it, because we still have old culture individuals too that wanna communicate that way still.
Sure. So in the company that way too, and you guys,
Right.
was it emotionally easy or hard for you guys to find a different way to work, to communicate together? You're sisters, so was it easy or hard?
I think it's hard.
Ooh, the pregnant pause.
It's great now,
Both.
Yeah.
yeah.
Both?
It's still,
It was
like,
easy on her?
Jessica and I still like get into it.
Oh yeah, but I think it's just, I think part of the process is just forcing yourself to have the hard conversations right away and
Yeah.
getting it, out in the open and not stewing for 2 weeks and not
Right.
talking to you guys for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and knowing like the way we still like there's love behind it still, like I love you, so I don't
Yeah.
need to like piss you off. I know malice behind it,
But you
it's
can
like-
piss her off.
Oh, absolutely, every day.
As you guys have gone through, you guys have taken more responsibility, but you have a big ownership. Do mom and dad still have a minority interest, or they still have a controlling interest? So they still have a controlling interest. Do you think that's because of cash flow, or because let's make sure it's going well before we release control?
The latter part of that.
Yeah.
The latter part of that.
It's, ultimately, they're the ones that built it for the majority of it, and we're only recently stepping in, and it's so nice to have them be our landing platform.
So 20 years is recent to this company. Oh, you're recent. Oh my God, I've been doing that one. And you've got the youngest of the babies.
I am.
How old's Renata?
She's almost 2.
Very cool. And your kids are how old?
6 and 5.
And yours, Jane?
9, 6, and 5.
Will any of them eventually come into business?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, at least
If they
we
want.
said we weren't gonna work.
You said when you were riding the truck back from her to school, you weren't going to work here.
I said I was never gonna marry a plumber. I married a plumber.
All right. So within that, then, have you guys considered forms of ownership? Now that you own a piece, you guys are considering a couple of other companies where it isn't like this. One of the new ones, you're going to have, the three of you will have the controlling interest, correct? Right? Because it'll be divided by 5. You guys have got 60%. What is that like to know that you're going to have the controlling interest and yet the next venture?
I haven't really thought about that.
I think it's exciting.
Mhm.
At the same time, it's scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, you know, my parents just, when they did the hot plumbing, I don't think they expected it to be to the level it's at.
They always say they got lucky.
They got lucky, yeah.
And you guys would say hard work.
Yeah.
Yes. They put a lot of hours.
Have you guys been tempted by the venture capital people? Let's buy a piece of the business. Let's get you franchised. Let's buy you out. Have you been tempted by that world that comes at you? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So what's tempting about that?
Was it, you know, when you come in or when you leave the office and you had a really awful day, that's when it happens. Or when there's like situations with each other, or, you know, when you bring it home, or it would just be the easy way, it feels like.
It's not always just sitting on your shoulders.
Right.
Right? What do you mean sitting on your shoulders?
Like, you know, if one of our employees is out late at night and gets in a car accident and there's severe damage, and it's just that over that cloud that kind of haunts you, where there's like that next lawsuit that's gonna come, and you know, you take that all in because it's ours, it's our responsibility. So sometimes making it somebody else's responsibility, it seems like that would be easier, but who knows?
Right.
But yeah, those are things that happen in my head.
And you guys have done the math of that. If you were to sell it and get cash and invest it, or if you keep it and grow it, what is it like for the math of that conversation?
Well, I think with the minority stake that we have, you know, that bucket is not as big, and then it also wasn't as big for my parents, and it didn't make sense. And there's so much potential to be had.
Mhm.
New service lines, new companies, new ventures, you know.
Yeah.
So much for our future, you know, by keeping the family business. That it just, at the end of the day, didn't make sense.
Sure. And then, Bill, the company has grown a lot, kind of plateaued. When you guys are taking over more, it seems to me that you're revitalizing some of those lesser lines of business and paying attention, and you're looking also at new lines. Do you think that as the three of you are starting to take over, you're revitalizing some of the quiet parts of the company, or you're growing others, or you're staying stagnant? What is it?
I think revitalizing. I think also looking at numbers in a different way has helped as well. Building memberships, recurring services, just beefing up our current customer base now has been super helpful as well in its growth.
Cool.
I know I think for me, growth is definitely there. I want to add electrical as a service line, you know, as a new business, and, you know, when we're ready, when the reporting's in place.
Sure. So Shelley, are there any questions we should answer before we're about done?
I don't see any. Anybody have
If you
questions?
have a question, you can either raise your hand or put it in the chat. Hi, John. I didn't see you there.
Yeah, feel free to type into the chat function. Or just raise your hand.
So I'll also introduce on the call Jeff Cates. Jeff is one of my partners at Founders Group that came in from the Founders Group side. And can I say?
Yes,
Spent
absolutely.
some time with Jess on the financial reportings of the company. The company had different divisions that each reported differently.
Yep.
And managed to numbers out of canaries in the mine shaft that were historic versus reporting systems that might be tighter or might be an easier way to look at it. Lots more manual work, looking to less manual work and more actionable on numbers like you guys are talking about.
Mhm.
So thanks a lot, Jeff.
You're welcome. I have a question for the ladies.
Oh my.
So I think it would be great for everybody if you could talk a little bit about what it's like and what are some of the challenges you faced in trying to earn the respect of senior management already in place.
Non-family member, non-parent senior management. Because you guys used to work for them.
I think a lot of it is just being able to do the hard stuff, being able to take it on, especially understanding. I think a huge part of the respect aspect is understanding what everybody does, not just having somebody else go do it, but we actually did it. All of us have been in a call taking role, in an accounting role, in a collecting role, outbounding for collections. We've done generally everything in the business. And I think that's a huge point to earning that respect of some of those senior leadership roles.
What is it like for you guys now that you're having to interact with attorneys, accountants, financial people, bankers, real estate people, professionals? What's it like for you to deal with them, and how do you choose who you work with?
It's like just stepping into that professional pair of shoes almost, that growing up in a family business we didn't always have. But it helps to choose people that we trust. I know Joe was brought on a couple of years ago to help us through some family troubles, communication troubles, and he helped set us up with Jeff. But again, it all comes down to trust and trusting that they have your best interests at heart, and they're going to help you get through this, and they're going to help you fix the reporting at the companies, and they're open and honest with you about it.
So what is it like dealing with those professionals, or thinking about being in a room with 3 new bankers or a new CPA or a new attorney like us? What is that like?
Oh, scary.
Well, it's
Scary.
a little fun.
Scary.
Yeah.
A little fun, a little scary.
You've never done before. It's like it's a next step in our professional longevity, I should say.
Learning new things about where our industry's going and how to make it better and what to do in the next steps.
Traditionally, like our parents have done it, right? They're kind of that face to all the vendors and everyone else, and for us to come in and be that group of people that they have to talk to and win the business, it's a level of confidence. It's a bit scary, but it's exciting at the end of the day.
Very cool. What would you give for a piece of advice to a generation that has worked in a business, that's talking to their parents about taking a bigger role? What would your piece of advice be each?
Hire Joe.
I was gonna say get a Joe.
Get a Joe. Any Joe will do.
Get a Joe.
Okay.
Oh gosh. Yeah, just talk.
Yeah.
Just talk. It's all about
Better
talking
talk.
at the end of the day. Just talk and talk and talk.
Expectations, what both expectations are, and like how you see it and what they see, right?
Yeah, right. So
Communicate.
that it's like you're gonna go this way, they're expecting you to go the other way. Of course, you're not gonna get along.
Right. And it's hard because there's 3 of us, and then there's just my mom and dad. So like, how do we make that transition? It's gonna be different, and then
Right.
also we're in different. It's not 1980s anymore. It's 2021. So it's communicating what that looks like.
Very cool. Ladies, thank you very much for spending time with us all today. Shelley, thanks for helping set this up, and thanks for all of you being on with us.
RJ has his hand raised. RJ, do you want to ask? I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Well, just in closing, one, do you have an outside board in addition to obviously the family board? How often are you meeting to discuss business, other than, how the Padres doing and stuff? But what is the formal structure, the governance look like for the company and at this point? And then 3, do you rely more on advisors today or less? So what are you expecting from your advisors? Joe is amazing. So obviously that was the best choice, and Shelley that comes in that package. But in addition, I suspect there are a bunch of other advisors as well. What's that look like today? And as I say, do you lean more on them or less, or what's that look like? So 3 questions. Thanks.
Okay. From the governance standpoint, it's always been my parents on the board, and it still is them on the board. We recently, with the help of Joe and especially Shelley, formed our family council. Finally.
Took us a year. But we're doing it.
Yeah, but we don't have an outside board.
It's a work in progress, right?
Yeah, it is a work in progress. We're getting to the next step. We got to the family council. We talked about scheduling our first morning retreat. But when it comes to vendors, the question was about.
Oh, our advisors.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do rely on Joe and Shelley. Also, we do have a legal team as well. I think we still reach out to them. We still talk first, but because our professional growth isn't there, we do lean on them. And also our risk manager and our general manager, as far as history precedes us, what's happened in the past. But yeah, any questions, we definitely go to our advisors and.
Yeah.
And would it be fair to say that we've been going through a structure education, but also a financial education about what the numbers are in the company and what's good, winners and losers, but now a financial education about what do you do with those profits and how does that get split up? And is there a change in pay? Do you invest in other things? So now we're doing literally education sessions around that.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of Joe too, is our parents, they just kept running the business and running it and every day in and out and not really setting up the financial aspect and the education behind that. So it's awesome for us to do that now all together as the 5 of us, and move in that venture as well.
Cool. Do we answer okay, RJ? Very cool. So, ladies, thank you very much for taking the time and coming in. When we started out this morning, it was, Joe, what questions you gonna ask us? Are we gonna be okay? You're gonna be here, right? Clearly, they have a very strong set of bonds. Clearly, we've enjoyed working together and going down this path. RJ, you identified very correctly, that doesn't happen overnight. And it's a matter of how do you change that family culture? How do you respect mom and dad who are majority, but how do you push into this? How do you start to look at numbers differently? How do you look at legal stuff differently? How do you look at the finances differently? And then what does that do going forward? Very much, you guys worked for a good deal of time on what was that family creed going to be, and what was that family constitution going to be, and then what does that family board look like, and what are the rule sets for each other and the people that come up and mom and dad, and presenting to mom and dad and having them agree, okay, we'll be like that now. It's been interesting to get that commitment, but I'd also say, I think if your mom or dad were here, they would spend 10 minutes on how proud they are of you guys. Is that fair?
Yeah.
For sure.
Shelley, anything else, or what else?
No, I don't see anything else. I think it's just been an absolute joy to work with this family for the last couple of years and watch the growth and the transition. And it may not feel like it to you guys, but there's a huge difference from 2 years ago to now.
Is there a huge difference, guys?
Yeah.
All right. Guys, everybody, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Thank you, ladies. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.